All right, so we're in our pseudo BC calculus class, worksheet 2-3. We struggle a little bit on doing inverse trig functions. Let's make sure we really know what we're doing here. So arc sine of -1. Again, sine means I'm talking about the y-coordinate, and the y-coordinate is -1. I make a unit circle. And maybe I should make, size 2. So I make my unit circle. That is not a circle, Mr. Snell. I make my unit circle, and I say, okay, I have a height of -1. -1 is right there. Oh, that's clearly what angle? 0. That is not 0. That is the angle 3 pi over 2. Let's try another one. Cosine, arc cosine, that is the x-coordinate. On my unit circle, yet again, maybe I should just kind of copy and paste these. Copy, pasty. Okay. So on this unit circle, I have an x-coordinate of square root of 3 over 2. And notice that the square root of 3 over 2 is bigger than 1/2. So if I had my x and y coordinate, I really need to make my lines so it's easier to see my coordinates here. So there's my x-coordinate, there's my y-coordinate, or my y-axis, I should say. And let me copy paste this guy into the future. There, looking good. So in terms of my x-coordinate, here's 1/2. I'm slightly more than 1/2. I'm going to be too big right here. Right here. And then where does this x-coordinate intersect our function? Right here. And I can kind of exaggerate it. It's right here and right here. What are the coordinates of those points? Again, if I'm closest to the x-axis, it's something divided by 6. So that is something divided by 6, something divided by 6, and it should have a pi in it. It should have a pi in it. This is the smallest one, so it's just 1 pi over 6, or just pi over 6. So I'll come back over here. This is just pi over 6. This used to be 12 pi over 6, and I subtract one of those, so 11 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6. And those are our two answers. So I'll rewrite them again. Pi over 6 or 11 pi out of 6 over 6. Let's try another one. Arctangent of 1. Arctangent of 1 means that my y divided by my x is equal to 1. Or that is, this number and this number are the same. X and y are the same. So this implies x is equal to y, which means it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Where are my possible 45, 45, 90 triangles? My possible 45, 45, 90 triangles on my unit circle right here happen at that point, that point, that point, and that point. And I want it to be a positive. So a positive divided by a positive, or a negative divided by a negative. So there's a positive, positive, negative, negative. Those are our answers. That has an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate that are the same. This is an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate that are the same as well, but they both are negative. That's still fine. What are the coordinates? That one is pi over 4, and this one is 5 pi over 4. So I'll write our answer in red. It's pi over 4 or 5 pi over 4. Any level of difficulty on the homework is fair game on the pre-test, self-check, and test. 4, arc cosine of 1. Again, draw your unit circle. Arc cosine, cosine is talking about the x-coordinate. Cosine is x-coordinate. Where do I have an x-coordinate of 1? Only right here. Oh, that's just 0. Or I guess I could say 2 pi as well. Done. Let's try another one. We still have a little over a minute, a little under a minute now. Arc sine of 0. Well, sine is talking about the y-coordinate. On my unit circle, where do I have 0 for the y-axis? 0 on the y-axis happens here and here. And what are the coordinates of those? I have 0, or I could consider that 2 pi. And over here I have pi. So our answers are 3 in this case. 0, pi, or 2 pi. Let's try number 6, and then we'll be done. Arc cosine of 0, that's asking where do I have an x-coordinate of 0? That happens x-coordinate here and here. are both 0. That's pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. That's all we have time for this class. So pi over 2 or 3 pi over 2. Watch the rest of this video tonight to learn how to do the homework if you are struggling.
All right, for number 7, now we're actually taking the derivatives. So remember that this is going to be 1 divided by the square root of 1 minus whatever our x is. In this case, it's 1 over x. So this is 1 over x, and then that thing quantity squared. So that's doubter. Don't forget your dinner, the derivative of the inner. So what is the derivative of this inside thing? Again, another way of thinking about this is x to the negative 1 power. So taking the derivative of x to the negative 1 is the negative 1 comes down in front, so it's negative x and then goes down to the power of negative 2. All right, so simplifying this a little bit, this is now equal to 1 all over 1 minus 1 over x squared, and that denominator is square rooted. And that's, I guess I can additionally, here, let me move this over a little bit to the right. I was going to say left there. And additionally, I have this negative x squared on the bottom. So I have a negative x squared. Cool. And final answer, box it. Number 8, arctangent. So arctangent is 1 over 1 plus x squared, and this is e to the power of x. That's our x quantity squared. So that's doubter. Don't forget to multiply by your dinner, the derivative of the inner. Derivative of e house is just e house. So there's your dinner. Simplifying this one more step, this is equal to e to the power of x in the numerator, and in the denominator we have 1 plus e to the power of 2x. Final answer, box it. Number 9, cosine. So arc cosine is basically the same thing as arc sine, but just negative. So negative 1 all over the square root of 1 minus that x thing squared. This x, in this case, the inner, is 3x to the power of 8. That squared times our doubter. That was doubter, times dinner. The 8 is going to come down in front. 8 times 3 is 24. 24x, and then 8 goes down in power, goes down to the power of 7. And simplifying this one more step, this is now equal to negative 24x to the power of 7 for our numerator. Our denominator is going to look like 1 minus, so I'm going to square both the 3 and I'm going to square the x to the power of 8. So squaring the 3 is 9, and squaring x to the power of 8 is x to the power of 16, and that again is all underneath a radical symbol, so it's square root of all of that. And there's our final answer, box it. And our final problem, number 10, arctangent of sine of x. So we have definitely a dinner inner here, I'm thinking. So first of all, our doubter, our derivative of the outer, it's 1 over 1 plus whatever x squared is. So it's sine of x was our x, so that thing squared. And then I have to multiply by the derivative of sine of x. So the derivative of sine of x is it's positive cosine of x. And we don't actually have a dinner inner. If I had sine of 2x, then I could have made a dinner inner. It's just like that, and just simplifying, putting that cosine of x in our numerator, cosine of x right there, all divided by 1 plus sine squared of x. And final answer, box it. That concludes Calculus BC Worksheet 2-3.